Hello, everybody. This is Arwen Lewis, and you're listening to The Arwen Lewis Show. My show is under the Jeremiah Show platform, and I feature people in the music business, musicians, producers, engineers, and on upwards. And today I have a very special guest, Mr. Ed Stasium. And
Howdy.
hi, Ed. Thanks for coming on.
My pleasure, Arwen. Thanks for having me.
I'm going to read everybody a little bio about you, and then we'll get started into chatting about this extremely extensive, amazing career you've had. So everybody, producer, engineer, and mixer Ed Stasium would rather say it's all about the music when pressed for highlights for his career, helping an artist clearly bring their vision to fruition while taking care to make sure the sound shines. Ed finds himself taking a role as just another member of the band while leading a project to completion. Ed has a fresh eye for musical substance where he can lead a veteran's wealth of studio experience. His valuable instinct for mediation has been useful in many situations where he's had to be a Henry Kissinger of rock and roll, as he'll describe with a smile. Ed Stasium hails from the beautiful Garden State, New Jersey, where he became interested in tape recorders and guitars when he was a young lad. He recorded and was a guitar-playing member of countless garage bands during his formative years. While attending the School of Visual Arts in Manhattan, Ed joined a local New Jersey group named Brandywine. Setting up Making Shift Studio and their manager's basement, he recorded demos, and in 1971, the band went on to sign with and record an album for Brunswick Records and engineers by Bruce Sweden. In 1972, he left the band through his childhood friend, Michael Bonagura, was introduced to producer Tommy Camillo and producer-engineer Tony Bongiovi, owners of Venture Sound Studios in Somerville, New Jersey. There he became involved with the building and wiring of the room and became staff engineer, where he received his first hands-on experience in professional recording. And we're going to continue on with the interview and tell you more about his crazy extensive career. But I'll tell you one more thing about all the amazing people he's worked with, or some of them at least. In 1978, Stasium left the power station to pursue an independent career. Ed has since recorded and produced such diverse artists as the Ramones, the Talking Heads, Julian Cope, Peter Wolf, Nona Hendryx, Mick Jagger, Jeff Healey, and more. And so anyway, Ed, welcome to the Arwen Lewis Show, and thank you so much for coming on.
Yes, indeedy. Thanks for having me.
So I thought we could set the tone by talking about the statement in your bio that you are the Henry Kissinger of rock and roll. Can you expand on that a little bit and tell us about how that describes your philosophy of engineering and producing?
Well, that came up during when I was working with the Ramones on their album "End of the Century," which was produced by Mr. Phil Spector, and Johnny likes to do things quickly. And during those sessions, I was there I wasn't producing, I wasn't engineering. I was actually more of a member of the band. I had rehearsed with the band. By that time, I had done 4 records with the Ramones and had done additional guitar parts and backing vocals. And I became tight. I was like Eddie Ramone. And
that's awesome.
And Johnny actually didn't want to go work with Spector because of his reputation, Phil's reputation preceded him with his eccentricities. And Johnny just wanted me to come along. I ended up just rehearsing the songs with the guys and playing guitar in the studio for the backing tracks when we were recording. And Johnny, after the first day, Johnny was just getting fed up. And because Phil would just make us play take after take after take, which he's infamously he was famous for that. Even with the Wrecking Crew, when he was doing all his records, he would just wear them out and do take after take, dozens and dozens. And he was doing the same thing with the Ramones. For what reason? I don't know why, because it always sounded the same to me. I don't know what he was listening for. He would listen back in the control room, out take after take, excruciating levels, like Jett playing 120 dB levels. When it came to the song Rock and Roll High School, we had an introduction that we were creating guitar feedback.
Okay.
And we would hit a chord, and it would feedback. I would feedback with the amp I was using, and Johnny would feedback, and he just kept making us do it over and over again for at least, I don't know, it might have been 2 hours. And Johnny just got fed up. And after that session, he says, I'm quitting. I'm leaving. I'm going back to New York. And so I called Seymour Stein, who put the whole deal together with Phil, because he was buddies with Phil. And said, Seymour, Johnny's quitting. He's leaving. He doesn't want to work with Phil anymore. He can't take it. He just couldn't take it anymore. So Seymour's like, you have to fix it, Ed. You got to make it work. And, you have to finish this record. I'm sure they gave Phil a reasonably large advance for doing this project to begin with. And so I called a meeting at Joey's room. It was in Joey's room the next day at the Tropicana. It was a famous rock and roll hotel on Santa Monica Boulevard in Hollywood. And there was a great restaurant called Duke's that was incorporated into it was on the ground level. Everybody went there for breakfast. And you'd go there, you see Ricky Lee Jones or Tom Waits, or, it was like a real rock and roll hangout. I think those, Ricky Lee and Tom Waits actually lived in the Tropicana at some point. It was a funky hotel. It was the doors were falling off the hinges. It was wacky. So we called that meeting. I don't know how to shut hang on a second. Never mind. I want to shut those beeps off, but I don't know how without turning your volume off. Anyway, we'll cut that out.
If you want, we can pause.
Yeah, let's pause it.
I don't even know how to do it. It's okay. We won't pause. Just continue.
Oh, okay. Yeah, go ahead. No worries.
Yeah, we'll get a couple beeps in there. It won't be bad. Oh, you know what? Maybe if I put my phone on Do Not Disturb, it'll.
Oh yeah.
It will stop that. There we go. Because it wasn't my phone; it's the computer that's doing it. But I think, yeah, it says Do Not Disturb on. Okay, that'll do it. Okay, back to business. So the next day, mid-afternoon, we all met in the band. Phil, his bodyguard George. We all met in Joey's room at the Tropicana. I remember it was hot outside. It was May 1979. It was scorching outside, but it was freezing in Joey's room. We're all like, it's cold in here. It was probably like 59 degrees in there, which is not really cold, but air conditioning. And so we had a meeting, and I was the go-between. I was a liaison. And Phil's like, well, what's going on? I hear that Johnny wants to quit. I said, and so I told Phil, Johnny can't work under these conditions. He's not used to playing over and over the songs over and over again, listening over and over again. And, he doesn't want to work like that. He can't work like that. He's never worked like that before, and he doesn't want to continue in that manner. And Phil's like, well, tell Johnny that I won't do it anymore. So I tell Johnny, hey, Johnny, Phil's not going to do that anymore. And Johnny's like, well, are you sure? Because I can't take it. And I said, Johnny says, are you sure? He can't take it anymore. And Phil said, okay, tell Johnny. And it went on like that for not long, maybe 10 minutes. And then we went back into the studio and started working again. But that was, I don't know who made that term, Henry Kissinger rock and roll thing up, but I guess I'm very diplomatic when it comes to dealing with, there were several other incidents where I had to not put my foot down, but negotiate between band members or A&R people in the band, etc. It's not my forte, but I thought it was a good catchphrase to put into the bio.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, it sounds very fitting to me. And I would also say, every band needs somebody like that around, whether it's their bandmate or a producer or just somebody that's hanging around, because when you're trying to create something so amazing like that, I mean, everybody has their own opinion about how to get it done, and they need a medium. So it sounds like you created the vibe, which is part of your producer skills. Yep. I'm sure, right?
Got to create a vibe. Yep, for sure. You got to make sure everybody's getting along.
Yeah. Well, when did you start playing guitar, and how did you learn how to play guitar? Was it electric?
I started off with an acoustic. It actually, I started off with more with a tape recorder. I was very interested in tape recorders. That's a long story. We probably don't have time to even get into that. Okay. But I was basically at a New Year's Eve party when I was 10 years old, and I'd never seen a tape recorder before. So the music being played back on a tape recorder. At home, we had a Webcore record player, just a little thing, you know. And the gentleman who the record player belonged to, it was my parents. It was friends of theirs. And he showed me, he took the reel off where the music was playing and recorded my voice. And I was like, oh, wow, look at that. That's amazing. Yeah. And so my parents worked very hard. They were both working class. My dad worked for Western Electric, the manufacturing arm of Bell Telephone. My mom worked for Ethicon, which was the manufacturing outlet of Johnson & Johnson, the huge firm, the biomed, the medical, whatever they do. And but they would always save up a little bit of bucks and get me a nice birthday present and a nice Christmas present. So the following Christmas, I got a tape recorder. Got a transistor tape recorder. The Christmas after that, I got an electric mono tape recorder. And friends of mine knew people. And when I had that mono tape recorder in my bedroom, my friend Healey Murray brought by this guy, Wayne DeRose, who wanted to record his guitar. And he had a country gentleman, just like George Harrison. I didn't know, it was pre-Beatles, but pre-British invasion. This is like 1961 or 62. I mean, the Beatles were doing their thing, but we haven't heard about them yet. And so I recorded the guy and he brought a reel of tape over, and I recorded a couple songs, and he was really good. He actually gave lessons as well, I think. And I got interested in guitars at that time. And so the following Christmas, my parents got me a nice K acoustic guitar, and I started playing that on my own, figuring it out on my own, tuned it to open E. I don't even know how I did that, but I kind of figured it out. And then for my birthday, a little later on, for the next Christmas, I got a K electric guitar with two pickups and a Univox amplifier.
Nice.
And then in the summer of 65, I worked at a grocery store, saved up some dough. And I at that time I was in high school already. There were bands in high school, cover bands, no original bands, but cover bands doing R&B. This is, mind you, this was it was not pre-Beatles at this point, but they were, it was summer 65. So it was a great time for music. Yeah. And for my birthday that year, I matched my parents matched my money and chipped in half and half on a Stratocaster, Fender Stratocaster. Cool. Yeah. And so it was a seafoam green. And
seafoam green. That's so cool.
I wanted a Sunburst because all my buddies, they have their Sunburst Strats. Yeah. That the only one left at Rondo Music in Union, New Jersey on Route 22 was the seafoam green. And it went through some different stages of looks. When Magical Mystery Tour came out, I painted it like George Harrison's Rocky guitar. I got day-glow paints that made it all psychedelic, and used my mom's fingernail polish for different parts of it. And it was funny because I read, later on, like way after that, but within the last 10 years or so, in one of my friend Andy Babiak's book, that George actually used some of Cynthia's nail polish on Rocky, on his Stratocaster. Went through that, then it went down to natural wood, then it got repainted again with the, it looks great. And now it's actually in a museum. It's in the Musical Instrument Museum in Phoenix, Arizona.
And what color is it now?
It's back to seafoam green.
Nice.
It looks great. And it was refinished back in the 70s. Okay. So like 75, 76, it was refinished. So it looks great. And so actually the finish is checking on it. And they wanted to acquire, the guitar was trashed. I had a bad refret job. I removed all the original hardware, although I did keep the pick guard and the pickup covers. But the bridge was tuners, or the original ones are gone. So it wasn't all original. If that thing was in mint original condition, it would be worth a lot of money, because there are very few of those seafoam green Strats made in 63. And I bought it in September of 65. So that was hanging around for a while in the store.
And what a life it went through, though, you know, and it's
Yeah,
just,
well, oh yeah, it's great.
and this
Yeah,
is a great story.
yeah. It was a lot of fun. So that's, and then I took a couple lessons from my friend Stan Bobrowski
Nice.
in my hometown of Greenbrook, New Jersey. He had a white Stratocaster. He was in a band called the Zephyrs, who I really admired. They were great, really good players. Were all kids, but they were really great. And then I started playing in bands in high school. And I was the guy in high school who had a tape recorder, recorded the bands, also would figure out the songs. If we're doing a new song, whatever it may be, Jenny Take a Ride by Mitch Ryder and Detroit Wheels, for instance, or I Ain't Gonna Eat Out My Heart Anymore by the Rascals, the Young Rascals. I would figure out the songs, write down the lyrics, and then teach all the band members in my garage bands, how to play it. And if they were making a mistake, if I was making a mistake, if they were making mistakes, I would say, that's not right. So that was the beginning of my production career, really.
Yeah, it all naturally happened.
Totally. Yeah, it's all instinct. It's all instinctive and being at the right place at the right time.
That's the best way for, I feel like, rock and roll musicians to evolve and getting into this for sure.
Yeah.
But when we come back from break, I want to start talking about your garage rock bands and stuff too. But we're going to actually head out right now. Everybody, if you're just tuning in, my very special guest is Mr. Ed Stasium, producer, engineer, and mixer, and also a guitarist. And we're talking about his extensive career producing artists and playing in bands. And we're going to take you out to break with a song a song It's a New Day by Skull Snaps. And that's a piece of work that Ed has mixed and produced.
I did not produce it.
Okay.
That's the first record I ever engineered and mixed.
Okay.
At Tony's house in 1973. And there's a story about that will blow your mind.
Let's talk about that when we come back too.
Okay.
And then we're going to bring you back in with Kiss Me, the Ed Stasium mix. And we'll be right back. So please enjoy these songs. Good. Yep. So you just heard Kiss Me on the